Reading the breaking news that we heard from Matt Hancock just before the break, the lockdown in Leicester will only be partially lifted from July the 24th, with school, childcare and some non-essential retail being allowed, but it will remain in force when it comes to social activities and the reopening of hospitality venues. Let's return to our question of the day now, though. Should Shamima Begum be allowed back to the UK to challenge her revoked British citizenship? 03444991000 is my phone number on that. But let's debate it now with Mohammed Shafiq, who is the chief executive of the Ramadhan Foundation. He says that this is not about any alleged crimes Begum may have committed, but about the principle you cannot have a two-tier citizenship. And Webb is the director of the Forum on Integration, Democracy and Extremism at Civitas. She debated Shamima's lawyer on this very subject last year. Mohammed, let me start with you. So the former Good evening, great to have you here. The former Home Secretary Sajid Javid says it is a danger to our national security to allow Shamima Begum back. He says he supports the Home Office decision to appeal this ruling. Why is he wrong?
Well, I think the first point is that you've got to distinguish between those who went out to Syria and who fought and who killed innocent people, who supported ISIS. Those people, I've never advocated for them to return to this country. Shamima Begum is, and the children who were taken by their parents to Syria have exceptional circumstances to consider. And so the point here is that if they are responsible for any crimes, if they're involved in anything criminal, then it's absolutely right and proper that they're held to account by our judicial system.
Even if it puts our national security at risk?
Well, the Home Secretary made a decision which I believe was for party political reasons, and I've never supported politicians to make decisions about one's citizenship being revoked without due process. I'm proud of the fact that we live in a democracy where the rule of law is applied equally to those who are powerful, like the former Home Secretary, and like ordinary people in this country. This was never about ISIS crimes and their barbarity. You know, I'm absolutely disgusted by that. I've been campaigning against it. I've received death threats from these terrorist groups. This is about the principle of equality under British law, and that citizenship cannot be a two-tier system.
Webb, how do you respond to that?
Well, I agree with the former Home Secretary on this and the statement that he released today about it. I think the initial decision that he made was the correct one. It's due process for her to be able to appeal this, but what we're discussing today following this court ruling is actually whether or not she should be brought to this country in order for due process to take place. Now, I think that, especially given the circumstances and the way that the courts are currently operating, it's completely possible for her to do this via video link. There's no reason for her to be here. Once she is in this country, as the former Home Secretary has pointed out, it's going to be nigh on impossible, let's say, for us to remove her. We're not going to be able to support her once she's here, regardless of what the result of the appeal is. And so I think that the point that this is about balancing our national security against justice, I don't think that's necessarily the way that we need to be viewing that in this circumstance, because she could easily take part in due process from abroad. She doesn't need to come back here. And what this will do is it will set a dangerous precedent where other dual nationals who are under similar circumstances, regardless of it's not particularly about Begum's specific case, that this would overwhelm the security services and make it absolutely impossible for us to even be able to redirect the resources to ensure that our national security could be protected for these people once they're already here.
Mohammed, that's the real problem, isn't it? We've got this ISIS matchmaker mum, a mass executioner, jihadi Jack. They're among 150 terrorists who may well be allowed back if this ruling stands today. And we're already trying to track a whole load of potential terrorists in this country, and as we know from previous incidents, not always doing a particularly good job at it. So if we let 150 more back in, you can understand why people feel that it really is threatening our safety.
Well, I think, first of all, a correction to what Emma says. She's not a dual citizen. Her parents, her father in this instance, comes from Bangladesh, but she has no connection to that country. She's never been there, and the Bangladeshi government are refusing to allow her to get entry to that country. I accept, and I hear what you say about the issue around the terrorist that are still alive. But we let in hundreds of other people before Shamima Begum. Hundreds of people returned to this country. Where was the national security concern there? And what I'm saying to you...
Well, I'm sure most of the public disagree with that as well, but Shamima Begum was a lightning rod. How do you respond, Emma, though, to that specific point about why should this be the problem of the Bangladeshis? Because, yes, she does qualify, I believe, for citizenship, but she doesn't have citizenship.
Come on, Dan. At least give the full facts before you...
Well, doesn't she qualify via her parents?
No, she doesn't. And the Bangladeshi governments have refused to give her citizenship or even allow her entry into the country.
Well, I believe actually that the Special Immigration Appeals Commission, I believe, and this is something that you'd have to check, I believe that they actually found that the decision to remove her citizenship by the Home Secretary was lawful because she does have claimed Bangladeshi citizenship. Whether or not the Bangladeshi government are disputing that is another thing. But what we're discussing at the moment is whether or not she needs to be brought back to this country in order for justice to be done.
Mohammed, why do we need to actually have her here for this appeal? Because, you know, once she's here, we can't get rid of her.
No, well, I think, look, there's going to be a due process, and Emma is right. The Special Immigration Tribunal looked at this case and came to a different conclusion. Obviously, the government want to appeal it to the Supreme Court, and you know, it's absolutely right that we wait and see what happens with that. But as I said, you know, she was 15 years old. She was groomed and she made that mistake to go out to Syria. And that was devastating. She's lost 3 children in infancy. And so
because she chose to fight against our country, as a terrorist.
Dan, I don't disagree with you. And as I said to you, on every single issue in terms of ISIS and terrorism, I've been out there on the front line. I've been receiving the death threats from these terrorist groups, and I've been called all sorts. So, come on, I'm not going to take lectures that people are saying to me that I'm somehow an apologist for terrorists.
No, I understand that, but you can understand the anger that people have when Shamima is presented as an innocent schoolgirl. That does cause a lot of anger with people, does it not, Emma?
Yes, I think that morally speaking, when she made the decision to go there, you have to remember that at the time when she travelled in 2015. This was in the months leading up to the decision that she made to travel. We saw aid workers being executed. We were aware of the genocide that was taking place there. The victim is not Begum. The victim, the people that she was complicit in going there to build a state that has committed genocide and war crimes. And actually, we're talking about her being a 15-year-old girl, where there's a woman who is in the same situation, who is currently being tried in Germany because she kept a Yazidi woman and Yazidi children as slaves. She was morally responsible. The age of moral responsibility in this country, legal responsibility in this country, is 10 years old. She's admitted that she knew what she was going over there to do. We can't dismiss her moral agency in this. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she's complicit in the crimes of the state. The issue is that if we bring her back to this country, there is a very, very small chance that she will even be convicted of anything meaningful. The chances of justice being done in this country are pretty much zero.
Well,
she may be convicted.
Mohammed, I'll give the final word to you. Thank you. Mohammed, the last word.
I was just going to say, you can't have it both ways. You can't ask for justice and a person to be held to account and then criticise the authorities even before they've done the investigation. Let her return, let her do her appeal, and let the police authorities investigate any criminal act she's been involved in. And she has, then throw her in prison, and then, let her suffer in that way. But let's take emotion out from the rule of law.
Mohammed Shafiq, Chief Executive of the Ramadhan Foundation, and Emma Webb, the Director of the Forum on Integration, Democracy and Extremism at Civitas. It's a pleasure to have both of you on the